In Tudor England, the 12 days of Christmas was a major celebration. In the later 15th century and early 16th century, religion played an important role in everyday life for the English. They observed many holy days, also known as holidays, within the Catholic Church. A holy day was set aside for religious practices and was considered sacred. Modernly, a holiday refers to any day off from work or a period of celebration, regardless of its religious origin. In the 4th century, Pope Julius I set December 25th as the celebration of Christ Mass. A Mass is the term used by Catholics to label their church service. So, Christ Mass eventually evolved into Christmas. All of that said, when referring to Tudor England, this reference includes the reigns of Henry VII, starting at the end of the War of the Roses, Henry VII's son, Henry VIII, Henry VIII's son, Edward VI. For 9 days, there was the great-niece of Henry VIII, who was Jane Grey, followed by Henry VIII's daughter from his first wife, Catherine of Aragon, who was Mary I, and finally Henry VIII's daughter from his second wife, Anne Boleyn, who was Elizabeth I. However, the time period during Elizabeth's reign is more commonly referred to as the Elizabethan period. In the later part of Henry VIII's reign, England became Protestant when Henry VIII declared himself as supreme head of the Church. The Church of England abolished a number of Catholic holy days, but did still recognize some of the holy days, including Sundays and the feasts of Circumcision, which is January 1st, Epiphany, which is January 6th, Ascension Day, which is the 5th Thursday after Easter, Corpus Christi, Saints Peter and Paul on June 29th, the Assumption of the Blessed Virgin Mary on August 15th, All Saints' Day on November 1st, and Christmas Day, December 25th. Many holy days had a civic, agricultural, and/or economic significance. Various religious holidays dictated different rules depending on which holiday or holy day it was, such as what foods could or could not be eaten when. For example, during Advent, the 4 weeks before Christmas, the Catholic Church mandated that no meat, no dairy, and no eggs would be consumed during this fasting period. This period of denial was meant to shift the focus from earthly concerns to the coming of the Lord. On Christmas Eve, a midnight mass would be held. After this mass was over, the revelry began to celebrate the birth of Christ Jesus. The Christ Mass, or Christmas, celebration lasted for 12 days, during which no work was permitted and people gave in to the joy of the holiday season, including the delights of food. Also, on Christmas Eve, prior to attending the midnight mass, many families would head to the woods and select a log, which they would decorate with ribbons and set ablaze. After keeping it burning for the 12 days of Christmas, they would keep a charred remnant of the log. This was considered good luck for the year to come and could be used to help kindle the next year's Christmas fire. This was known as the Yule log. Of the 12 days of Christmas, 3 days were especially celebrated in Tudor England. Christmas Day on December 25th, the exchanging of gifts on January 1st, and Twelfth Night. One of many sports that Henry VIII enjoyed was boar hunting. By the 16th century, wild boar was almost extinct in England. This made a boar's head at Christmas a truly royal dish. The boar was often soaked in red wine and expensive spices before being roasted. The head was presented to be as splendid as possible, with gold leaf on the tusks and an orange in its mouth. It was even presented with a song known as the Boar's Head Carol, which was a 15th century English carol describing the serving of the boar's head at a Yuletide feast. After fasting for 4 weeks and abstaining from all meat, eggs, and cheese, mince pies were such common fare during the 12 days of celebrations that they were also known as Christmas pies. They were stuffed with meat, particularly mutton, which signified the shepherds who visited the infant Jesus, along with the pies also having sugar, spices, and dried fruit. Ideally, they were supposed to contain 13 different ingredients to symbolize Christ and his 12 apostles. Turkeys were introduced to England in 1526. Aside from the boar's head, the wealthy may also have had a Tudor Christmas pie at their feast. This particular pie was special as it consisted of a turkey stuffed with a goose, which was stuffed with a chicken, which was stuffed with a partridge, which was stuffed with a pigeon, all baked inside a pastry commonly called a coffin. Any leftovers, known as dole, from the feasting of the wealthier households were then distributed to the poor. Landowners were often obligated to present their tenants with gifts, including bread, meat, and even ale. During the Feast of St. Stephen on December 26th, the poor were sometimes invited to dine with their landowners at the table in exchange for contracted gifts to the landlord. Mummers were masked partygoers who would go from door to door, demanding entry and looking for music, drink, and games from the homeowner. They would make bets and play with weighted dice, enforcing the charity in their favor. Think of this as the Tudor version of trick-or-treating, with it being at Christmas time instead of Halloween. These mummers would go wassailing or singing carols. Just think of the 19th century song, "Here We Come, a-wassailing." Tudor pageants depicted the arrival of the three wise men were performed in homes and churches across the country. These pageants were the forerunners of the nativity plays performed in schools today. For decorations, during this festive season, kissing bows were the most popular. Kissing bows were woven wooden hoops hung with evergreens such as holly and bay leaves and suspended from the ceiling. Of course, a sprig of mistletoe was a must for any kissing bow. All of the feasting, gaming, banqueting, caroling, and overall celebrations of this holiday season ended with Twelfth Night. On the last day of Christmas was Twelfth Night, which landed on the eve of the holy day of Epiphany, known as the Feast of the Three Kings, on January 6th. Epiphany marked the arrival of the Magi, also known as the Three Wise Men, in Bethlehem to visit the Christ child. Twelfth Night was celebrated in style at the royal court with a great banquet, masks, and lots of merriment. The focal point of the Twelfth Night was the Twelfth Night cake. Essentially, it was a rich fruit cake containing of dried fruit, nuts, and various spices such as cinnamon, nutmeg, and clove. The Twelfth Night cake had a large dried bean or pea baked inside. During this festive season, social rules were broken down and merriment became the highest calling during the 12 days of Christmas. To oversee and lead the jolly celebrations for this final night, a Lord of Misrule, serving as a mock king, was appointed. This Lord of Misrule could arrange for entertainment, including feasts and plays for everyone to enjoy. Typically, this position was given to a member of the king's court, but on the rare occasion could be assigned to a favored servant. The Lord of Misrule could also be selected from becoming the King of the Bean, or for ladies, the Queen of the Pea. The person who found the bean or pea in their slice of the Twelfth Night cake became the King of the Bean or Queen of the Pea. The King of the Bean, or sometimes the Abbot of Unreason, was quite popular during the reign of Henry VII. Playful mischief was the main goal. After the 12 days of Christmas, life and work returned to normal and decorations were taken down. Unless you lived during the Elizabethan period, when people often left the greenery up until Candlemas, which is 40 days after Christmas. After Twelfth Night, work began again on the first Monday, known as Plough Monday.